Lenovo surprised us with the new Idea Tab, a more affordable version of the Idea Tab Pro we tested a few months ago. I think it's sort of the successor to the Lenovo Tab M11. For around $200, we're getting a surprisingly high resolution display, a pen is included, and you can get it with an optional keyboard. Will the Idea Tab be our new budget tip? Well, that's what you'll learn in this review. And we'll begin with the design. We're getting an aluminum back, which makes it feel quite high quality for the price. The display bezels are a bit wider than on more expensive tablets, and it weighs in at 480 grams. It's somewhat protected against dust and splashing water, according to IP52. Overall, the build quality is very good. The buttons are firm and the ports are well embedded. On board are a USB-C 2.0 port, a 3.5mm headphone jack, and a microSD slot for up to 2TB of storage expansion, and a port for the keyboard cover. A fingerprint reader is unfortunately missing. The headphone jack and the SD slot are plus points in particular. It's a shame, however, that we're not getting USB 3, and it's also a shame that you can't connect external monitors, even though it even has a desktop mode. It has an 11-inch IPS LCD with a resolution of 2560 by 1600 pixels, supports 90 Hz and has a maximum brightness of 500 nits. The display is undoubtedly the Idea Tab's greatest strength. The combination of high resolution and 90 Hz ensures a sharp and smooth picture. We'd wish it were a bit bright outdoors, but for the price that's already pretty good. The more expensive iPad 11 is just as bright. For this review, we compared it with the Samsung Galaxy Tab S6 Lite 2024. And compared to that, the Lenovo has the better display. One disadvantage, however, are the rather weak viewing angles. The panel looks bright and high contrast head-on, but the brightness visibly drops off even with a slight angled view. That's not a problem if you're using it alone, but it is if you're sitting on the sofa with friends or family and watching a movie or so. You can watch Netflix in HD quality, by the way. That's not always the case with cheap tablets. 4 symmetrically arranged speakers provide stereo sound with Dolby Atmos. The volume is pretty good, but the sound's a bit unbalanced and tinny. There's also largely lack of bass. It's still sufficient for YouTube and streaming, and the stereo effect is also good. In a direct comparison with the Galaxy S6 Lite, it's a bit quieter but sounds much warmer and more balanced with a bit more bass. The Idea Tab supports the Lenovo Idea Tab Pen Plus as well as the included Tab Pen. That one supports pressure levels and a pretty good palm rejection. Otherwise, the pen unfortunately doesn't have any buttons or so, but it's well suited for notes. We've tested it in Nebo, Noteshell 3 and Lenovo's Notepad app, and it performed well in apps, without great latency and with a moderately good writing feel. We preferred over the pen of the Lenovo Tab M11, by the way. For a few notes and a little scribbling it's good, but the Apple Pencil and Samsung S Pen are noticeably better. If the pen is particularly important to you, we therefore recommend the Galaxy Tab S6 Lite 2024 as an alternative. Unfortunately, however, there's no keyboard cover for that one. Inside runs the MediaTek Dimensity 6300 with 8GB of RAM and 128GB of storage. There's no 4G or 5G version yet, but maybe more options will appear later. For everyday use, the performance is sufficient, especially for YouTube, light internet browsing and so on. Even a small Adobe Rush export of a few clips with music underneath worked, but it did take quite a long time. In Geekbench 6, the Idea Tab performs comparatively poorly, especially in GPU performance. Devices like the Redmi Pad Pro or the more expensive Idea Tab Pro are miles ahead of it. The S6 Lite is also ahead in some tests. The 3D Mark Gaming benchmark shows similar results. Here too, the Idea Tab performs rather poorly and also ranks significantly behind the Samsung. The Redmi Pad Pro is second in this lineup. It's usually a bit more expensive. Sure, the Redmi Pad Pro and Samsung S6 Lite have already dropped in price, and the recommended retail prices are well above this Lenovo. Currently, the prices are similar though. But we're assuming that the Idea Tab will quickly drop more towards $180, $170, maybe even down to $150. Unfortunately, you can't play Fortnite unless you want to experience a visually unique experience with a continuous 3 up to 15 FPS with low textures and 0% 3D resolution. Less demanding titles like Minecraft or PUBG Mobile, on the other hand, run well and without major drops. The performance is therefore sufficient for casual gamers, but not for serious ones. Android 15 with Zen UI 17 is pre-installed out of the box. Lenovo promises 2 major OS updates up to Android 17 and 4 years of security patches. The Z UI looks tidy and only comes with a few pre-installed apps. That's great, since other cheap tablets often come with a bunch of bloatware. If you buy the keyboard, you can benefit from a desktop mode, because with the keyboard connected in desktop mode, the Idea Tab should even create a slight laptop feeling. The desktop mode in particular isn't typical in the budget price range. Sadly, we couldn't test the keyboard yet. There's an 8 megapixel camera in the back and a 5 megapixel camera in the front. The quality is sufficient for video calls or document scans, but really not for high quality photos or videos. Videos can be recorded with a maximum of 1080p at 30 FPS. The battery has a capacity of 7040 mAh and can be charged with 20 watts. In our test, the Idea Tab came in at 7 hours while playing an HD YouTube video at max brightness in an endless loop. Doesn't sound like much, and it isn't, but that's actually quite common in this price range. The rather new Honor Pad 10, which is even more expensive, for example, only comes in at 6.5 hours. For under $200, we quite like the Lenovo Idea Tab. It offers a well put together set of features that combines a high resolution 11-inch display, 4 speakers, a sufficient update guarantee, and a usable pen. But it's not perfect. We'd wish for a bit better gaming performance and a fingerprint reader. It would also be great if the otherwise great display had better viewing angles. Because of this, for example, we can't recommend it as a family tablet for 2 kids who want to watch cartoons together. But apart from that, it's a solid tablet if you're using it alone and want something as cheap as possible. For browsing the internet, YouTube, and simple games, it's good. Especially when the price drops more towards $150, and I suspect that on days like Prime Day, it will cost roughly that much. If you want a noticeably better tablet, I recommend our review of the Lenovo Idea Tab Pro. It's actually already dropped a lot in price, is a bit larger, and has significantly better performance, especially for gamers.